Morning, Year 7. I hope you're all safe and well and looking after yourself. This is the second video for this week's remote learning. I hope you enjoyed the last one and found the content easy enough to attempt at home. I'm sure you will have done. Today we're looking at, like I said in the last session at the end, we're looking at compound perimeter today. So we're going to continue our work with geometry. And then we'll be looking at geometry next week, and then we're going to be looking at something else the week after. Now, we looked at area yesterday, and today we're looking at perimeter, which is a similar concept, but it's slightly different. And we need to not get confused between the two. So I'll reiterate area today, and then we'll look at perimeter later on. Now, I kind of forgot to mention this in the last video, but why do we look at area and perimeter? Well, they seem like very basic concepts at first, but they have some more advanced applications. With perimeter in particular, we start off with some basic concepts like rectangles and triangles. Then we move on to compound like we are today, but then we can also look at some algebra concepts as well to do with perimeter. But when you get to A level and get to the real world, we look at differentiation and integration, which are they're very complicated concepts, but they apply to the real world. And for example, if you're making some packages for sweets or chocolate or stuff like that, area and perimeter, you can actually work out what's the best type of packaging and the most cost efficient. So it does actually have some really nice real life applications. So if you ever go into a shop and wonder why things are packaged the way they are, it's because that's the most efficient way to package it and the cheapest way for the company. And they'll have had to use some of these methods to work that out. Now, just to recap, we need to understand what do we mean by perimeter. Now, on the last session with area, we know area is the space inside. So it's the blue bit inside this rectangle. But perimeter is, we were given the same information, we're given these two lengths, but we need to work out something entirely different. Now, when you see the word perimeter in an exam, you need to know that perimeter is the distance around a shape. Now, what we'll mean by this is the perimeter of this rectangle here is all of the lengths on the outside added together. Right, so if we're asked for perimeter, what you're thinking is imagine this rectangle was a field. The perimeter would be, if you walked around that field, how far have you walked? So if it was area, it would be how much grass is on the inside. But if it's perimeter, if it's a field and you walked around it, how far would you walk? Now, this is the mistake people will make. They'll do 5 plus 2 equals 7, and they'll say that's the answer. Now, the mistake those people are making is they're forgetting that there's actually 4 lengths on this rectangle. There's the 5, there's the 2, and then there's these other 2 lengths. Now, it looks like at first you're not going to know what those lengths are, but if this length here is 2, this small one, the other small length on that side is also 2. So I'm just going to type that in, 2 centimeters. Similarly, if this length here is 5, then the opposite length is also 5. We'll try not to do caps this time. So that's also 5. So actually, the perimeter of that shape is going to be the 5 plus 2 plus 5 plus 2. And if you work that out, 5 plus 2 plus 5 plus 2, and that's going to give us 5 plus 2 is 7, plus 5 is 12, plus 2 is 14. And that is centimeters, and it is just centimeters. Why? Because it is a length. So we're not doing squared today, we're just doing centimeters because it's a length. So all your answers should not have squares in today. Now, if you are struggling with, if you think you need more practice on that, then you can have a go at those questions. But if you're completely confident, you can just move on. So that's just a recap for people who think they need extra practice. Again, if you email me and attempt those, I will give you feedback on them. Right, now these are the types of questions we're looking at today. So what we're looking at is we're looking at compound perimeters, so the perimeter of compound shapes. Now, if you look at this, I want you to think, this is basically 2 rectangles that have been smushed together. We've got one on the right and we've got one on the left. Now, that's what we mean by a compound shape. A compound shape is just a shape that's made up of mini shapes. So this compound shape that looks like an L shape, that is just two rectangles that are pushed together. That's all it is. 1, 2, there, 1, 2. So we need to work out the perimeter of this compound shape. So we need to work out what's the distance around this L shape. Now, what we need to do first of all is we need to think, is there any lengths there that we're not told? That's step number 1. So you can write this down if you want. Step number 1, find, can't spell today, missing lengths. Now, if you look at this diagram, we don't have any missing lengths, and that's because this is a basic example, but the ones that we look at after this will have missing lengths. So once you've worked out the missing lengths, step number 2, add them all together. Add all the lengths together. All meaning lengths. Just add all the lengths together. So once you've completed step number 1 and you found the missing lengths, step number 2, you can just add them all together. So we'll do that and we can tick them off as we go. So I'll use the pen tool for this. So if we tick them off as we go, we've got 8, do this as neatly as I can. Tick that off. Plus 3. Tick that one off. Plus 5. Tick that one. That was a weird tick. Plus 3. And then plus 6. So I've methodically ticked them off as I've gone along because I want to make sure I don't miss any out or I don't repeat any. So all we've simply got to do now is just work out the sum. So 8 plus 3 is 11, plus 5 is 16, plus 3 is 19, plus 6 is 25. Don't forget, it's just centimetres, not centimetres squared. Just please make sure you don't have to tick them off, but make sure you don't add a length twice or miss one out because you'll obviously end up with the wrong answer. Now, next question. We need to work out the perimeter of this compound shape. So again, it's 2 rectangles put together. Won't always be rectangles, won't always be 2 rectangles, but in this example, it's the same as the last one. Now, if we go back to the last example, we remember that step number 1 is we need to find the missing lengths. If I can spell. So, first things first, we need to look at this diagram. We need to think, right, is there any lengths we're not told? And there are lengths that we're not told. We're not told what this length here is underneath the 3 and what this length here is near that 4. So I'm going to show you a technique now to work out those missing lengths. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw over this line with a red line. Hopefully you'll be able to see it. So we've got a red line there. Oh yeah, I can change the thickness. So I'll do that again. So we've got a red line there. So that 10 is our red line. Now I'm going to use blue. Just see how we've got this length that's running in the same direction. 2 smaller lengths that are running in the same direction. Like so. We've got this blue one here and this blue one here. Now I want you to notice what happens when I pick up this small blue line and I drag it across. What do you notice about the blue line and the red line? Well, what you're going to notice is that this red line and this blue line are actually the same length. Now, what does that actually mean geometrically? And what does that mean for this question? That means that this missing length here, I'm going to call it question mark. So I'll use dark green. That question mark there, that and this 4 that we know have to add up to 10. So can you see that this green question mark, 4 plus something is 10. So that green question mark there, let me change the thickness, has to be, in fact, I've got that wrong, made a stupid mistake. That has to be, I've just copied out the answer from before. That has to be 6 centimetres. So this gap here is 6 centimeters. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clear all that annotation. And I'm just going to put 6 there. Just don't want it to have too much on it. Obviously your diagram can, so that's 6. Now, are there any other lengths that we're missing? Because don't forget step number 1, I know it's gone, but we need to work out the missing lengths. We don't know this length here either, this question mark. Now, we can do a similar method. Now, you don't need to draw the lines. I'm just doing it just to show you how to do it. Now, I'm going to use red again. If you look, this big red line here, I need to change the thickness again. This big red line here, so there, is the same length as the 2 smaller ones that are running in the same direction. This one here and this one here. Now again, if I pull this down, this red line is the same as the 2 blue ones, and that will always work. So 3 plus something has to give me 10, using your arithmetic, and don't make silly mistakes like I did last time, because I'm rushing. That must be 7 centimeters. So if I clear all the annotation, this one's 6, this one's 7. And now it looks like the last question where we know all the lengths. So step number 2, we just need to add all these lengths together. So if we go ahead and do that and tick them as we go along. So 3 plus 6 plus 7 plus 4 plus 10 plus 10. 2 10s, that's going to make it easy. So 3 plus 6 is 9, plus 7 is 16, plus 4 is 20, plus 10 is 30, plus 10 is 40. So it's 40 centimeters. Don't forget centimeters because perimeter is a length. Don't use your square units, that's for area. Right, so I'm going to clear that. There's one for you to have a go at your own. So step number 1, work out the missing lengths. Step number 2, lengths or length. And then step number 2, you need to add them all together so you can pause the video and have a go. Now I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. Now we need to work out this missing length. Basically, this missing length plus that 4 has to give you this 8. So that's going to be 4. Then this missing length here, this one, plus this other smaller one has to give us 10. So that's also 4. Right? So then we just need to add them together. So 4 plus 4 is 8. Plus 6 is 14. Plus 4, 18. 28. And then 36. So our answer is 36 centimeters. Well done if you've got that. So obviously, as per usual, you've got your red, amber, green. So red is the top 2, amber, the middle 2, and green, the bottom 2. So when you have a go at those, they get slightly more difficult. So step number 1, work out the missing lengths. Step number 2, work out the compound perimeter by adding all the lengths together. So I want you to have a go at that now. And when you email me, I can go through the answers and give you some feedback. So just to move on from that, now this is probably for my set only, but obviously just feel free to engage with this if you want to. If not, just skip to the end of the video, because by doing the previous slide, you've already met the learning objectives for today's remote learning. Now, for my class, we did actually cover this already, but we're just going to go over it because we get to recap collecting like terms and we get to look at algebra, which obviously we haven't looked at for a while. Now, if we need to work out the perimeter, we need to work out this missing length at the bottom that we don't know first. Now, we know that the length at the bottom is the 2 lengths at the top added together, which is h plus h. And h plus h, if you simplify it, is 2h. Now, we want to work out the perimeter, so we need to add them together. And I'm going to do this with a text box. So we've got 2h plus 2h plus h plus h plus H. Now, don't forget that H means 1H, and we're collecting these together. So how many H's have we got? Well, we've got 2, 4, 5, 6, 7H. So we've got 7H altogether. So the answer is simply 7H. And you don't need to put centimetres because we don't know if it's centimetres or metres. So you just leave it as 7H. Simple as that. Next example. It says calculate the perimeter of the shape and show that it's 3H plus 4K. All it means by show that, and we have gone through this before in my class, is show that means you're just working out the answer. It's telling you the answer and you're just showing that that is the answer. So let's ignore the answer and let's just work it out. And if we get that, then we've answered the question. Now, step number 1, work out the missing lengths. We don't know this length at the bottom. Now, we know it's these shorter two ones added together, K plus K, which should give us 2K. So we write that at the bottom. Like so. Now, we need to, again, add them all together. So we're going to write that down. 2H plus K plus K plus H plus 2K. Now, this is a little bit more different to the one we've just done. I'm going to write equals here. This is a little bit more different because there's K's and there's H's, but you treat them as individuals. So we look at the H's first. 2H plus 1H, H is 3H. 2 plus 1 is 3. K plus 2K. So 1K plus 1K plus 2K. So K plus K is 2K. Plus 2K is plus 4K. And as you can see, our answer there matches with the answer given in the question. So we would get probably 2 marks in a GCSE, which is easy because it told us the answer as well. Now I'm just going to clear that. Now here's your red, amber, green, purple. So you're working out the perimeter of each shape in terms of algebra. So for example, in red, it's in terms of A and B. In amber, it's in terms of N. In green, it's in terms of F and G. And in purple, it's in terms of, it says work out the value of X and it tells you the compound perimeter. And that is a really difficult question to work out. But someone did solve it when we did it in the session. So I want you to have a go at those and I can give you feedback via email. Now, I just want you to thank you for taking part in today's session. I will just get up the slide for the end.